This is the Shine On You Crazy Daisy podcast, and I'm your host, Trudy Simmons from the Daisy Chain Group, providing platforms and opportunities for businesswomen to be seen and heard. This platform is for the women entrepreneurs that want to hear the real stories of what it takes to be yourself and run a business with all the different hats that you might have to wear. Come and join the Shine On You Crazy Daisy membership, offering online networking, co-working, collaboration and monthly masterclasses for you to grow your knowledge. Go to thedaisychaingroup.com for more information. These are the platforms to hear and share the stories of the tenacious, the rebellious, and the resilient women that are working towards the future that they build for themselves and their families. Hello and welcome to the wonderful Monique Gaudion from Boffola Podcast. Monique, thank you so much for being involved in Shine On You Crazy Daisy podcast and in volume 4 of the book. Wow. Please tell us about your business.
So the business I'm going to be sharing is the company I had for 16 years. So that's pre-Boffola Podcast. So that was a company that provided entertainment, team building and purpose-built tailored story performances for corporations.
So what I found really interesting in your chapter was that you talked about when you started the business and that you needed to go and get clients. How did you go about that?
Well, I've never run a business. I've been an actor, I'd been a medical secretary, but I'd never run a business. I had no freaking idea. So I did cold calling. And, that was just awful. So then I started going to networking events, women's networking events, small business networking events. And I was getting little bits of work, but that didn't work for my business because they were too small. They weren't going to have these events that cost money, really. So then, and I got into the local paper, so editorial pieces. So I didn't pay for marketing ever. My whole 16 years. And then I joined Meeting and Events Australia, which is a networking, it's an organisation for those in meetings and events. So as I said in my chapter, they really didn't want to have anything to do with me for a good year, but I just persisted. And really, I knew nothing about the meetings and events or big corporates. So it was a training ground for me. I just listened and learned. It was brilliant.
That was what was fascinating about reading the chapter and knowing you as I do, is when you've got this massive personality and you're like, hey, I've got this wonderful thing. I want to tell you all about it. And sometimes when we walk into a room, the act of listening and stopping and stepping back is almost better for the growth of things in the long term. But you definitely had a long ride of it.
Well, I didn't listen to begin with. Well, I did listen because they didn't ask me any questions. But when they finally did start talking to me, I would go straight into my elevator speech and they just shut down. Yeah. So what I learned to do was listen and ask questions. So get to know people, not just for what they do at work, but how many kids they've got, the typical networking skills. So I learned to be a networker. And it is the best, most fun experience because I love connecting with people, but it's about listening. Yeah. And until you listen, you really have no idea what their needs are. So how can you pitch anything? You're just shooting in the dark. So, and people love to have people who are interested in them. Yeah. They like to be liked, Yeah. So I was very authentic. I wasn't false because, people can clock that a mile away. Yeah. That false niceness, and it's awful. So really be authentic in the networking.
And I talk about all the time building the know, like, and trust factor. And when you're going to networking, if your main objective is to turn up once, shout what you do, and then leave, and then say networking doesn't work, it's not the game. You've got to be in it for the long haul of getting to know people so that they can then like you and trust you to recommend you to someone else. And that's exactly what you did and you learned for yourself. And I love that.
It took me 2 years.
Mm.
And I've got to say, because I was in the meeting and events industry, I ended up sponsoring the entertainment at one of the annual conference. And that changed my business because people saw me. And we're probably going into another one of the questions here, but what I did was unique. So that's where the purple cow comes in.
Right. Tell me about the purple cow and how that has helped with your storytelling.
So Purple Cow is a book by Seth Godin. It's a marketing book. And it's, as I say in my chapter, you're driving along the road, you see lots of cows, black and white cows, brown cows. But if you see a purple cow, you go, heck, what's that, right? So it's about knowing you know what you can do and be a specialist in that and differentiate yourself from other people or from other services, because usually there's lots of people who do what you do. So what I did is in my 2 years of listening, I saw where there were gaps in what needs weren't being met. And I brought something to market because that's what I was doing. And I expanded because that really worked. So I replicated what I was doing in other forms. So basically what I was doing was providing memorable experiences where people connected, because people don't connect at conferences or at events. They just talk about their kids or they talk about work or golf or whatever. So by getting their mind off those things, so that's what made the event memorable, because they had these great experiences. So the client was happy because everyone's going, oh, I love that. That was fantastic. So then they would invite me back again, and then they would tell other people about my services. I didn't need to market. My business ran on referrals. So if you can find how you are, where you're a purple cow, where your purpleness is, read the book, because that really says it all. But so basically I would tell stories from events to the clients, and they would go, oh, okay. And then
it's fascinating when we can look at what we've learned in corporates, when we all used to work for corporate organizations, and when people talk about unique selling point. And I've seen business coaches do that with a mocking voice of, oh, you've got to know your unique selling point. But that's what Purple Cow is. It is being unique and being able to sell what you want to do in your unique way, because we are all unique in what we put out. I love it.
Yeah. And, and that's where the listening comes in, and that's where the authenticity comes in. And I'm kind of shooting ahead here, but you need two things to be able to network, I believe. One is you need to be authentic, and you need to be confident in your authenticity. That's how you can be the purple cow. If you're pretending to be something you're not, all right, so if you're, like I am an extrovert, but when I joined that organization, I hardly said a word because it was intimidating, right? And I wasn't in the corporate world prior to that. I was an actor, but acting doesn't sell services. That's putting on is a script and stuff. Anyway, so if you're authentic and you're confident in your authenticity and supremely confident in what you're offering and not trying to be like someone else, then you can get clients easy,
Tell us one of your favorite business stories really quickly.
Okay, now, this is a great one. So, I'd been in business a while. I was, for some reason, I was in the Brisbane City Hall, and I was doing this really big event for an international conference, and it was called Welcome to Brisbane. And when I was in the town hall, I saw the Lord Mayor's 2IC, or whatever his professional title is, and he hopped in the lift. So I hopped in the lift, and I said, hey, how are you? And I said, I heard you're the blah, blah, blah. And I said, look, I'm doing this big conference, international people, called Welcome to Brisbane. There's a big multimedia element to it. I thought how cool it would be if the Lord Mayor could do an introduction and welcome everyone to Brisbane and talk about whatever his latest pitch is about Brisbane. You know, it's this kind of city, whatever. And he said, I'll get back to you. And I gave him my business card. And he said yes. And
Wow.
So I actually had the Lord Mayor on screen opening up this big production I did. But it gets even better than this. A couple of years later, I put a tender in for Welcome to Brisbane for a much bigger, much more important event. That was a summit with thousands of people. And it was a big production. I had 50 performers. And the Lord Mayor knew me now. I got that job. So I tendered against really big companies. I was a little company doing big events, but still a very small company. And at the end of that production, he came backstage and shook my hand and wrote me a letter saying that my contribution really made that summit.
That's brilliant.
Now all of that pretty much because I talked to someone in a lift.
You chased them down.
I just stepped in. I was very calm. I had nothing, I didn't push. I was very relaxed. I just mentioned it.
No, but
it back.
The next question that I always ask everybody is, what's a lesson that you've learned that you would want every entrepreneur to know? And you've answered that. This is brilliant, actually. You've answered that in the fact that you know that people need to be authentic and believe and have confidence in their authenticity. And that builds confidence in how you put out for your business. You stepping into that lift was because you had confidence in your authenticity and in your business and your offering.
Yeah.
Full circle. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. And just be yourself.
Yeah.
And don't worry about what anyone else is doing, because at the end of the day, all you can provide is what you can give.
Absolutely.
And there's a lot of people doing stuff. Don't get intimidated. Just do your thing.
I have a feeling I know the answer to this, but what's your favorite business book?
Well, I think things I've talked about, Purple Cow, Seth Godin. I mean, Seth Godin's work he's a really marketing genius. And, a lot of people who are starting out in business, I didn't know Seth Godin when I started. You'll find his wisdom so practical and applicable, and it gives you the confidence if you put into practice what he talks about. In fact, there's a lovely book he's called The Practice. It's for creatives, and it's really great. He has a blog. He's really worth following. So Seth Godin is a winner in my book.
Monique, this has been an absolute pleasure and so great to have known you for a number of years and to get you involved in the Shine You Crazy Daisy book. Thank you for being involved, and we can't wait to get your story out there.
Thank you. Oh, and just by the by, before I finish, so I'm now doing the Boffola Podcast, which is a podcast where I have guests who tell stories, and some of them are absolutely phenomenal. And in fact, you, my dear, was my first podcast guest.
I feel very lucky. Yeah, go and listen to that podcast. They are fun stories from people all around the world telling little stories that mean something to them. Monique, thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you for watching. If you like what you saw, please like the video and click the subscribe button for this channel for more inspiration. If you're a businesswoman looking for that community that will support you and lift you up, come and join the Shine On You Crazy Daisy membership, offering online networking, co-working, collaboration and monthly masterclasses to grow your knowledge. Go to thedaisychaingroup.com for more information. And for even more inspiration, please go to the link under the video and get your copy of the Shine On You Crazy Daisy series of books with inspirational and motivating stories from businesswomen around the world.